You will not meet your enemies in the open. You will meet them in the moment you win quietly. Watch what happens when you improve, when you stop begging, when you get leaner, sharper, calmer, when you start moving like a man with a plan. The room changes, the smiles get thinner, the compliments get strangely specific, like needles wrapped in velvet. They call you lucky, they call you obsessed. They ask how you did it, not to learn, but to measure the distance between your rise and their decay. Most people think jealousy is an emotion. It is not. It is a signal flare. It is the nervous system of the weak reacting to proof that you are not trapped with them anymore. Envy is the only confession you will ever get from someone who wants you to stay small, because people will tolerate your suffering. They will even enjoy it, but your success exposes them, and exposure is humiliation. So if you want to know who is against you, don't listen to what they say. Watch what they become when you start winning. In this video, you're going to learn how envy actually works and how it exposes your enemies without a single confrontation. You'll learn the telltale behaviors jealous people can't control, the subtle attacks they disguise as advice, the support that always comes with a leash, the sabotage that looks like friendship, and most importantly, you'll learn what to do when jealousy appears. Not emotionally, not loudly, strategically, because envy is not just hatred, it's reconnaissance. It tells you who is watching you, who is measuring you, who is waiting for your misstep, like a starving animal waits for a weak limb. By the end, you will stop guessing who is real. You will start reading the room like a predator, and you will know how to move so their envy becomes a weapon you control, not a threat you fear. Let me know and comment one word, envy, if you've already identified who's been watching you in silence. Let's begin. Most people think enemies announce themselves. They don't. They study you, copy you, smile at you, and wait for the moment you relax. Your real opposition is rarely hatred. It is comparison. It is the quiet person who feels smaller in your presence. Envy is not random. It is a reaction to hierarchy. Your progress rearranges the social order, and weak spirits experience that as violence. They feel robbed of a status they never earned. So they balance the pain the only way they know how. They try to reduce you. They do it with gossip because it is cheap. They do it with concern because it is socially acceptable. They do it with humor because it gives them plausible deniability. They do it with sabotage because they cannot compete. Here is the trap. You will want to confront it. You will want a confession. You will want clarity. But envy does not confess. Envy performs. It attacks from the shadows and then pretends it was an accident. That is why so many people stay confused for years. They are looking for a clear villain. What they have is a hidden rival. So, we are going to change the way you see it. You will learn how envy escalates in predictable stages. How to spot the difference between a friend who warns you and an enemy who wants you afraid. How to protect your plans, your reputation, and your peace without becoming paranoid. And how to use their jealousy as proof that your direction is correct. This is not about being cruel. This is about being unblind. Because the moment you start rising, you are no longer surrounded by friends. You are surrounded by observers. Rule 1, treat envy as surveillance, not emotion. A jealous person is not simply upset. They are collecting data. They watch how you move, what you buy, who respects you, what you post, what you hide. They listen for signals of momentum because your momentum is a threat to their identity. If you can rise, it proves they chose not to. That thought burns, so they study you the way a competitor studies a market. This is why the first sign of envy is not insult. It is curiosity with bad intentions. They ask questions that feel harmless, but the questions are too frequent, too detailed, too timed around your wins. How much did that cost? Who helped you? What are you doing next? Where are you going? They are not bonding with you, they are mapping you. Then comes the next behavior, subtraction. They begin to reduce your achievements into something smaller than reality. If you worked hard, they call it luck. If you were disciplined, they call it obsession. If you were strategic, they call it manipulative. If you are calm, they call you cold. This is not analysis, it is self-defense. They are trying to shrink you so they can breathe again. Here is how you respond. You do not defend. Defense gives them power because it means they touched you. You do not explain. Explanation gives them more information. You do not argue. Arguing gives them attention. You simply tighten your perimeter. Give less detail. Share outcomes, not process. Keep your next move private. When they ask for specifics, answer with something clean and forgettable. When they fish for weakness, give them nothing to hold. Envy dies in darkness. It thrives in access. The moment you feel that strange curiosity, that subtle minimization, that smiling hunger behind polite words, label it correctly. This is not a friend asking. This is a rival scouting. Rule 2. Measure loyalty by their reaction to your elevation. Words are free. Congratulating you costs nothing. That's why envy hides inside praise. When you rise, a loyal person becomes protective. They get happy, then practical. They ask what you need. They offer a contact. They celebrate, then they move on. A jealous person cannot move on. Your wind stays in their mouth like a bitter seed. They will support you with conditions. They will smile, but their eyes will check if anyone else noticed. They will congratulate you, then immediately change the topic to themselves, like they are trying to reclaim the spotlight before it burns them. This is the test. Tell them good news and watch for the pause. That tiny delay before the smile forms. That half second where their face forgets to perform. That is their honest reaction. Everything after is costume. Then comes the second giveaway. They try to pull you back to the old version of you. They remind you of who you used to be. They joke about your discipline. They call your growth a phase. They suggest you're doing too much. They don't say it like a threat. They say it like concern, because concern is a clean knife. It allows them to cut you while pretending they are saving you. Understand what's happening. Your elevation creates distance. Distance creates fear. Fear creates control attempts. So they don't attack you directly. They attack your confidence. They attack your pace. They attack your relationships. They plant small doubts like landmines and wait for you to step on them alone. Your response must be colder than their disguise. Do not debate. Do not reassure. Do not invite them to understand. Simply keep climbing and reduce their access. Make your victories quieter, not smaller. Make your circle tighter, not louder. And when they try to drag you back down with nostalgia, treat it as the confession it is. They miss the old you because the old you was easier to outrank. Rule 3. Recognize the help that is really a leash. Envy rarely walks in as a villain. It walks in as a sponsor. The jealous person offers assistance that creates dependency. They introduce you to people, but only through them. They give you advice, but it always ends with you needing their approval. They support you, but they keep a silent ledger. They want a position in your life that cannot be replaced, because replacement would prove they were never essential. And that is the core wound of envy. They don't want you to fail. They want you to need them. So they do something clever. They make you feel guilty for growing beyond them. They say, I was there before anyone. They say, don't forget who helped you. They say, you're changing. They say it softly, like they are hurt. But what they are doing is simple. They are trying to purchase control with past effort. This is how a leash feels. It feels like obligation. If you accept it, you start filtering your decisions through their emotions. You begin to slow down so they don't feel left behind. You begin to ask permission without realizing you're asking. You begin to hand over the steering wheel because they framed it as loyalty. A loyal person helps you and then disappears into the background. They don't need credit. They don't need leverage. They don't need you to kneel. A jealous person helps you and then stays attached to the story like a parasite on a bloodstream. They want proximity to your rise because it makes them feel powerful, and if you outgrow them, they will rewrite the past to make you ungrateful. Your response is surgical. Accept help. Reject ownership. Say thank you. Give respect. But do not give access to your direction. Do not give them the ability to veto your future. If their support comes with pressure, guilt, or constant reminders of what they did for you, understand the truth. They are not investing in you. They are investing in a handle they can pull when you start getting too high. Rule 4. Track the smear that starts as a joke. When envy can't compete with your results, it attacks your identity. Not with a direct accusation. That would expose them. They do it with a laugh, a nickname, a little story they repeat in different rooms, something that sounds harmless but leaves a stain. You're too intense. You're full of yourself now. You're different lately. They keep it light because lightness is camouflage. This is how jealous people poison the room without looking like the poison. They don't want you confronted. They want you doubted. They don't want you destroyed. They want you reduced. And the reason they choose humor is simple. Humor is socially protected. If you push back, you look sensitive. If you stay quiet, the label sticks. That is the trap. So here's the rule. You do not fight the joke. You correct the frame. A jealous person wants you emotional. They want a scene. They want you to prove the nickname is true. If they call you arrogant, they want you to defend yourself like an arrogant person would. If they call you obsessed, they want you to justify your discipline like you need permission. Instead, you do something colder. You let the room hear the pause. You look at them like you're deciding how serious they are. Then, you respond with one clean line that turns the light back onto them. Not angry, not long, short, calm, surgical. Because the goal is not to win the moment. The goal is to make the room feel the imbalance, to make people notice that the joke isn't funny, it's needy, that it wasn't playful, it was personal. Then you shift. You don't stay in the conversation. You don't debate intent. You don't explain your character. You continue as if they just revealed something small and embarrassing about themselves. Here is what you must understand. Smears don't start as slander. They start as permission. A tiny comment repeated enough times becomes a reputation, so you cut it early. You don't punish them with rage. You punish them with clarity and distance, because the jealous person's worst fear is not your anger. It's that everyone sees what they are doing. Rule 5. Never reveal your next move to someone who needs you to stay where you are. Envy feeds on forecasts. A jealous person doesn't just want to know what you did. They want to know what you will do next, because the future is where they feel powerless. If they can see your next step, they can prepare a comment, a doubt, a distraction, or a quiet block. They can position themselves to claim credit if you win, or to say I knew it if you fail. That is why they always ask about your plans when you're still building. What's next for you? Where is this going? Are you really going to do that? Do you think you can handle it? It sounds like interest. It is not. It is an attempt to touch the steering wheel. Here is the brutal truth. Your future is fragile before it becomes real. Ideas are easy to kill early because they have no proof yet, and envy is best at killing things that haven't been born, not with force. With fog, they will introduce doubt disguised as realism. They will warn you about risk, not to protect you, but to slow you. They will mention someone who failed to make you feel stupid for trying. They will ask questions that make you defend your ambition until you're exhausted. So you must adopt a discipline that feels almost cruel. Speak in outcomes, not timelines. Speak in principles, not details. Speak after the result, not before the attempt. If you must share, share with people who are already moving, already building, already too busy improving to envy you. The stagnant mind is the most dangerous audience for your dream, because your dream is proof that stagnation is a choice. And if you suspect envy, do something simple. Give them nothing they can repeat. Let your next move arrive like a door closing. Let your success be information they receive too late to interfere with. You don't hide because you're afraid. You hide because secrecy is the natural habitat of power. Rule 6. Use controlled exposure. Let them see enough to feel small, not enough to touch you. Envy is triggered by visibility, so most people make the same mistake. They either hide everything and look weak, or they share everything and get targeted. Power lives in the middle. You let people see results, because results establish rank. But you do not let them see your process, because process is where sabotage is possible. This is controlled exposure. It turns envy into a cage. They can stare at the bars, but they cannot reach you. The jealous person wants access to 3 things: your confidence, so they can shake it; your relationships, so they can influence them; your narrative, so they can rewrite it. So you build walls around those 3. Confidence means you stop narrating your insecurities to people who secretly enjoy them. You keep your doubts for trusted allies or for silence. You do not bleed in front of someone who wants proof you are human, so they can treat you as weak. Relationships means you keep your key people separate. You do not mix your circle with your audience. You do not introduce a hungry person to your network. You do not let one jealous friend become a gatekeeper to your social life. Narrative means you speak about yourself cleanly and consistently, not defensive, not bragging, simple, calm, professional, because when you leave your story undefined, envy will define it for you. And here is the part most people miss. Sometimes you should let them watch, not to impress them, to locate them. When you post a win or mention a new level, pay attention to who gets strange, who goes quiet, who suddenly becomes a critic, who becomes concerned. They are showing you exactly where they stand. Then you do nothing dramatic. No confrontation, no speech. You just adjust their distance. Access is the currency they crave. Silence is the tax you collect. Rule 7, turn their envy into obedience by becoming hard to replace. Jealous people only attack what they cannot match. If you are average, they ignore you. If you are needy, they use you. But if you are rising and useful, they become unstable. Because now you are both a threat and an asset, and that tension makes them reveal themselves. So the solution is not to argue with envy. The solution is to make yourself expensive. Expensive means your absence creates a problem. Expensive means your presence changes outcomes. Expensive means you are not just liked, you are needed. Here is why this works. Envy needs a target it can safely diminish. But once you become a high-value piece on the board, people hesitate to attack you openly. They may still dislike you, but dislike becomes silent when your value is undeniable. They start managing their resentment instead of acting on it. And the ones who still act on it, the ones bold enough to sabotage you despite your value, those are not friends with envy. Those are enemies with intent. So you stop being emotionally available and start being strategically positioned. You build skills that others depend on. You build relationships that are not controlled by one person. You build a reputation for reliability, not warmth. You become the person who delivers when things get tense, not the person who talks when things get tense. Then, watch what happens. The jealous person tries one last move. They attempt to isolate you. They hint that others don't like you. They suggest you're becoming arrogant. They bait you into defending your character. And you do not take the bait because you understand the real game. They are trying to remove your social protection before they strike. They want you alone, so their story about you becomes believable. So you stay calm, keep producing, keep winning quietly, and keep moving with structure. Let your value speak in rooms you're not even in. Envy is loud when you are disposable. Envy becomes a whisper when you are essential. Rule 8, when envy escalates, stop trying to be understood. Start setting traps. At first, jealousy is passive. A cold smile, a backhanded compliment, a joke. You can manage that with distance. But sometimes envy grows teeth. They begin to interfere. They forget to mention your name in rooms where it matters. They accidentally miscommunicate plans. They leak your information to the one person who would use it against you. They praise you to your face and question you behind your back. At this stage, your biggest weakness is still innocence. You keep acting like the relationship is normal because you want to believe it is. You want the old version back. That's how they win. So here is the ruthless shift. You stop explaining yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you. You stop trying to clear the air with someone who prefers smoke. You stop giving them emotional access, and you start using structure. Structure means you make everything trackable. Messages in writing, confirmations, clear expectations, clean timelines, not because you're petty, because envy thrives in ambiguity. Then you set a trap, a small one. You feed them a harmless piece of information that only a saboteur would weaponize. A fake plan, a decoy detail, something that doesn't hurt you if it spreads, but reveals who spreads it. Then you watch where it shows up, who repeats it, how it mutates. You are not being paranoid, you are verifying reality, because envy is a liar's engine. It runs on plausible deniability. They rely on you not having proof, so they can look innocent while doing damage. So you remove their favorite hiding place, and when you confirm it, you do not confront them like a wounded child. You reposition like a commander. You cut their access to information. You cut their access to your network. You cut their access to your emotional reactions. You do it quietly and completely because the jealous person doesn't stop when you ask them to. They stop when their leverage disappears. And once they realize they can't touch you, something beautiful happens. They begin to behave. Rule 9, reward silence, punish entitlement. Envy is not only about what you have, it is about what they think you owe them. The jealous person believes your life is a public resource. They believe your success should include them. They believe your attention should be available, and when you don't provide it, they feel insulted, not because you harmed them, but because you refuse to serve the role they assigned you. That's entitlement. Entitlement is envy with a crown on it. So you must train people around you the same way you train a system. Silence gets rewarded. Pressure gets punished. When someone respects your boundaries, you become warmer. You give a little more access. You offer a little more generosity. You show them that proximity to you is earned through restraint. When someone demands updates, demands explanations, demands loyalty tests, you go colder, you become slower to respond, you become less available, you keep your tone neutral and your answers short. You don't justify, you don't argue, you simply remove comfort. This creates a psychological rule in their mind. Trying to control you leads to distance. Respecting you leads to stability. And the jealous person hates this more than anything, because they are used to emotional people, reactive people, guilty people. They are used to pulling strings and watching others dance. When you refuse to dance, their envy has nowhere to land. They can't provoke you into proving you're arrogant. They can't bait you into proving you're insecure. They can't turn you into a character in their story. So they try a new tactic. They act hurt. They act confused. They act like you changed. Let them. A strategic man is not afraid of being misunderstood by someone who benefits from misunderstanding him. Here's the final part. Do not announce the punishment. Do not explain the rule. Do not deliver speeches about respect. Just change the temperature. Coldness is not cruelty. Coldness is clarity. And clarity is what breaks entitlement. Because entitlement only survives where access is cheap. Rule 10. Outgrow them fast enough that their envy becomes irrelevant. There are 2 ways to handle envy. You can manage it forever, like a guard patrolling the same wall. Or you can build a life so far beyond them that their emotions cannot reach you. Because envy has a range. It operates best when you are close, same rooms, same circles, same level. That's where comparison is sharp. That's where their bitterness can travel quickly through mutual friends, shared spaces, shared narratives. So your most ruthless defense is acceleration, not loud acceleration. Silent, consistent, boring acceleration. You stop negotiating with the comfort of the people around you. You stop shrinking your ambition to keep the group peaceful. You stop explaining why you want more. You just move. And as you move, you change one thing: your environment. Jealousy dies when the ecosystem changes. New peers who are building don't flinch at your growth, because your growth is normal to them. New circles don't have old stories to trap you in. New standards don't allow small people to sit close to big outcomes. This is why some people will fight your evolution with everything they have, because if you truly outgrow them, they lose access to you. They lose the ability to compare. They lose the ability to feel superior by keeping you stuck. And they know it, so they try to anchor you. With guilt, with drama, with nostalgia, with crisis. Here's the trick. When someone repeatedly brings chaos to your path, it is not an accident. Chaos is how they slow your momentum without looking like they're blocking you. So you make a decision that sounds simple, but changes everything. You stop responding to every fire. You stop attending every emotional meeting. You stop being available for every urgent conversation. You become disciplined in your absence, because the higher you climb, the more your time becomes the battlefield. And jealous people don't need to beat you. They just need to keep you busy. Outgrow them fast. Outgrow them quietly. Outgrow them so thoroughly that their envy becomes background noise. And when they finally realize they can't reach you anymore, they'll do the only thing they can. They'll call you cold. Good. Cold means untouchable. Jealousy is not random. It is structured. It begins as surveillance. Questions that feel friendly but land like probes. They want details because details give them leverage. Then comes minimization. They call your discipline obsession. They call your results luck. Not because they believe it, but because they need to shrink you so they can survive your presence. Then you learn the real test. Not how they treat you when you struggle, but how they behave when you rise. The pause before the smile, the quick pivot back to themselves, the concern that always points toward you slowing down. That is not love, that is fear of losing rank. You learned about the leash disguised as help, the kind of support that creates guilt, debt, and dependence, the kind that says, I helped you, so I own a piece of you. And you learned the only response that works: respect without surrender, gratitude without permission. You saw how the smear begins, not as an attack, but as a joke, a nickname, a soft label repeated until it becomes a public assumption, and you learned you don't fight the joke. You correct the frame and leave them holding their own neediness. You learn to keep your next move private, because envy kills futures before they become facts. You learned controlled exposure, show outcomes, hide process. Let them see enough to locate themselves, not enough to interfere. Then you learned the escalation protocol. When envy turns active, you stop trying to be understood. You add structure. You make things trackable. and you verify with small traps that reveal who leaks, who distorts, who wants you weakened. You learn to reward silence and punish entitlement, because jealous people believe you owe them access. And the moment you make access expensive, entitlement collapses. And finally, you learn the most ruthless solution: outgrow them. Not loudly, not emotionally, fast enough that their envy can't keep up, because the ultimate defense is distance, and distance is built with momentum. That's the whole map. Now you stop guessing who is real. You start moving like you already know. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Envy is not a flaw in them. It is a verdict about you. It means you crossed a line they can't cross. It means your existence is now a mirror they can't look into without seeing their own weakness. And once you understand that, you stop taking it personally. You stop begging for clarity. You stop trying to heal what was never love. You stop wasting energy proving you are good to people who only feel good when you are small. You move differently. You speak less. You reveal less. You deliver more. And when the room gets quiet after your win, you don't panic. When the jokes get sharper, you don't flinch. When the support comes with guilt, you don't kneel. You simply adjust access like a king adjusts borders. Because jealousy is not the problem. Jealousy is the evidence. It shows you where the snakes are hiding, without you ever lifting a sword. It tells you who is watching you, who is waiting, who is praying for your fall while pretending they want your peace. So, let them envy, let them whisper, let them perform. Just don't feed them. Keep rising until the distance becomes permanent. And one day you'll look back and realize the enemies you feared were never powerful. They were just close. Like the video if you've ever felt the room change when you started winning. Subscribe for ruthless clarity, not moral posturing.